Holton here. Thanks for watching the Hot Zone. Today we're going to talk about Armenia and what's going on there, kind of an update on the situation in Armenia. You may have heard there was a very large explosion in downtown Yerevan just a couple days ago. And it was in a marketplace, kind of one of those places where the locals go to shop, not really a touristy place, but a place where you go to get, clothes and cooking stuff and things like that. So kind of a bunch of outdoor shops and then kind of a little mall area. And it's just about a mile outside of downtown Yerevan. There was at first a large fire. Apparently it started in a place where they were storing fireworks. As the fire spread and grew, there was a very large secondary explosion. This is very common when there are big fires in industrial areas or something like that. You should not run toward the fire unless you're going to rescue people out of it, because if you're just going to take a selfie or something, there's always a real good chance of getting killed by a secondary explosion. The government of Armenia has ruled out terrorism in the case of this fire. So far, 16 people are confirmed dead, another 17 or so missing. So probably the death toll will be somewhere around 30 people. That's huge. That's really bad for a small country like Armenia. That's anywhere, but especially there. And so people in Armenia feel that very viscerally. And this comes at a time when tensions are really high in Armenia, because there has been a lot of aggression from Azerbaijan relating to the Nagorno-Karabakh, or what they call Artsakh, the Republic of Artsakh. Now, you got to understand, if you haven't been to Armenia, Armenia is a very small country, like the size of Illinois or something. And Artsakh is an exclave of Armenians, was a couple 100,000 people that lived in an area that was actually inside the borders of Azerbaijan, about a 4-hour drive from the border of Armenia. And there's one highway called the Lachin Highway that connected Armenia to the Armenians in Artsakh. And Artsakh has been fought over by the Azeris and Armenia since the Soviet Union broke up and they could fight over those sorts of things. Initially, Armenia took that area in the 1990s. Now, you have to understand, this is traditionally Armenian homeland. Armenia has been around since well before the 3rd century. Azerbaijan has been around since 1918. So the people of Armenia are already pretty upset because of the aggression of the Azeri military. The Azeris are lining up troops along the border, taking advantage of the fact that Russia is distracted with the war in Ukraine to push their strength advantage militarily over Armenia. And the Azeris also have the help of the Turks in this. So Armenia is kind of stuck. Armenia is really, you have to feel for the people of Armenia. Stuck between a rock and a hard place. A Christian nation, a very devout Christian nation. But because of the geopolitics of that area, and because of really the sort of leftover junk of the Soviet Union, Armenia is in a really bad spot politically. Armenians are very partial to America. There are millions of Armenians who live in the United States. They're very hardworking people. They're very honest people. They're very just warm and good people. But they are such a small nation, and they decided to align with Russia at the end of the Cold War, when the Soviet Union fell apart. Armenia just decided that their only hope really was to buddy up to their big brother Russia. And so even though they declared independence, they still kept those strong ties with Russia. And that is coming back to bite them, and bite them hard right now. Armenia doesn't have oil like Azerbaijan does. Azerbaijan is a competitor for Russia, so Azerbaijan was sort of against Russia, therefore against Armenia. And again, they were occupying some of Armenia's ancestral homelands, and doing so in a very aggressive and very violent way. So when Armenia took over that area, the area of the Nagorno-Karabakh, in the 1990s, they had to have a large military force there to protect their people from the Azeris, and very big and long-standing animosity between those two peoples. As I see this, and I see the same thing here in Ukraine, between the Ukrainians and the Russians, there's been this sort of ongoing and long-standing aggression from Russia against Ukraine, and the Ukrainians understandably resent it. There are monuments all over Ukraine to Ukrainians who have been murdered by Russians during pogroms, during Stalin's purges, during the Holodomors. There's apparently been 3 of them, and now during this current war. There are no memorials in Russia to Russians who have been murdered by the Ukrainian military that came in, because the last time that happened was like the 16th century. So you see this, and you see it in Israel between the Israelis and the Palestinians. You see there's so many places in the world where there are just these people groups that just will not get along. They just refuse because of the history. You killed my grandfather. You killed my great-grandfather. You killed my great-great-grandfather, et cetera, et cetera. And so they just won't get along. And to me, it really validates how important Christianity is and has been throughout world history. Christianity was the one religion that preaches that you win by forgiveness. You don't win by conquering your enemy. You conquer your enemy with love. And imagine if the Armenians and the Azeris could find it in their hearts to go to the other side and get together in Shushi or in Stepanakert, or even in Yerevan, or even in Baku, and could get together and go and just hug their rivals and say, I forgive you. I forgive you for whatever you've done to me. I forgive you for whatever you did, your ancestors did to my ancestors. I'm not going to seek reparations. I don't want you to fix it. I'm just letting you know that from the bottom of my heart, I am going to choose to love you and yours and work toward your betterment, try to help your country every way we can. And I pray that my forgiveness will engender in you the same kind of love toward us, and that you can forgive our ancestors for whatever wrongs you believe they committed. And we're just going to start fresh, clean slate. I'm wiping my slate clean, and I'm holding nothing against you from here on out. Can you imagine if the Armenians could do that for the Azeris? Mad wish, right? I mean, I think there's a lot of Armenians that say, that's never going to happen. We will never forget what the Azeris have done to us. I get it. I understand. What they are doing to you right now. The Azeris are literally, as we speak, pushing people out of their homes. Armenians being pushed out of their ancestral homelands where they were born, where they grew up, where they've spent their whole lives. And those Armenians, in turn, are burning their houses so that the Azeris won't be able to live in them, because they know they're not going to be able to come back. Can you imagine if instead the Armenians went to the Azeris and said, here's the keys to my house. I hope that you'll take care of it, and you have my blessing. I forgive you. I forgive you for what you're doing. What you're doing is wrong. It's unjust. You have no right to take my home, but I forgive you anyway. And as a nation of people, what that would do to your own spirit as a nation. It might not change the behavior of the Azeris. The Azeris would probably take advantage of it to try to crush Armenia even more. And I'm not saying that as a nation, that a government, that your leadership should do that. Your leadership cannot forgive the Azeris for you. If you're Armenian, Only you personally can forgive the Azeris for what they've done to your family and your people. Your government cannot and should not try to say, the government can't go, okay, for whatever you've done to our people, we're going to forgive you and we're just going to do nothing. Now, that's not the government's job. The government's job is to protect you, to act in your best interest, to try to work geopolitically to get the best deal they can for your country. That's their job. But as a people, as an individual, unforgiveness only hurts you. It doesn't, the Azeris could care less if you forgive them or not. And so the hatred that you hold in your heart for the Azeris just burns inside you. Now, I have spent most of this year in hotels like this one. As a matter of fact, the best I can tell, I've spent 18 days in my own bed, 18 nights in my own bed this year. Here we are in almost September. 18 nights out of this entire year in my own bed. The rest of the year I've been bouncing around from hotel to hotel, probably 75 different hotels. And if I've been in this, I like this hotel room. It's very nice in the Hilton. Good sized room. It's got a very comfortable bed. It's got a good place for me to work, good internet. It's nice and quiet. I like it. I like it a lot. And I've been here for a couple weeks now. If Hilton came to me and said, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to leave this room. We have somebody else that's coming into this room, and you're going to have to go find another hotel, I'd be kind of miffed, because I'm paying for this room, but in the final analysis, it's not my room. So if Hilton needs it and they need to kick me out, well, I'll go find another hotel. I'll deal with it, I mean, what's the worst that could happen? I might have to go home, I might have to actually go to my home in Panama and actually stay in my own bed for once. That'd be, that'd be awesome. That'd be wonderful. The Russians who are murdering Ukrainians out in the Donbass, the Azeris who are murdering Armenians and taking their homes. If you're a Christian, the reason that it's possible to forgive the people who are taking your homeland, taking your homes, and let it go is that that's actually not your home. Your people, your ancestors probably lived in that region for 1,500 years or more before the Azeris even showed up. And so you can say that from an earthly perspective, that's your ancestral homeland. But 1,600 years is a blip in eternity. And your life, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years, it's not even a blip. It's a vapor. It's a breath. That's all. If somebody comes and kicks you out of your hotel room, what's the worst they can do is send you home. The worst the Azeris can do the Armenians is send you to your real home. Your real home is in heaven. And it's much better than that beautiful part of Armenia called Artsakh. It's much more beautiful than the gorgeous villages that we were in yesterday, having a wonderful lunch with Ukrainian families. Their families have been there for generation after generation. Heaven will make those places look like a mud pit. If we keep that in mind, if we keep in mind the fact that this is not my real home, God will repay the Azeris for their evil. God will repay the Russians for the evil that they are committing against the Ukrainians, even now as I speak, all across this country. God will repay them. They will stand before a holy God and answer for what they've done. And so will I. And if I understand that my home is elsewhere, and then when injustice is done to me on this earth, I can forgive. I can forgive with the understanding that what they're taking from me is really nothing at all, because they cannot take my true home. They cannot take my true father. My dad on earth died 10 years ago today. Left this earth 10 years ago today. I can't believe it's been 10 years. I was down in Panama, got the call from my mother. My dad had died suddenly. It died as a result of an accident, believe it or not. As it turns out, it was a mercy because in the autopsy and all that, they found that he had a very aggressive form of cancer that would have given him a very painful death in a few short months anyway. So it was a mercy. I miss my dad a lot. I know that about that quick I'll be joining him. And he's enjoying his real home now. I can live with the trauma, the sadness, the grief of losing my father and my mom 2 years ago to cancer. Because I know that I will see them again. I believe that with all my heart. I believe that this is not my real home. They are there in our real home. And we'll all be together again. And it'll be beautiful, and it'll be forever. And there won't be the horrific brutality of war ever again. That's something to look forward to. For me, this living hope of Christianity is the only thing that allows me to do this job, to see the destruction and the horrors that I have to witness every day. Some of the stuff I saw yesterday is going to be with me for a long time. The brutality of the Russian troops is absolutely astounding. It's something out of World War II. It's astounding. I hope that you also have found the hope that I have in Christ by surrendering everything I want, my house, my family, surrendering it to God's will, trusting in Him, and trusting that there's a better place for me in the future. I don't have to be a good guy to get there. I just have to accept it. And by accepting it, it makes me want to be a good guy. That's the way it works. So I'm praying for Armenia. I'm praying for Ukraine. I hope you will too. I'm sad for the people who were lost in this explosion. They're not sure exactly what caused it. There are some theories going around that maybe it was arson, but so far the authorities have ruled that out. Let's just pray that nothing like this happens again, and that the Armenians will be able to maintain their country, that their government will be wise, will be just, and will do the right thing for its people. Not based out of corruption or greed or graft or anything like that, but just based out of a true desire to do what's right for their country. All right, kind of a strange hot zone, a little long, but thanks for watching.